What's going on, everybody? King of Dragons 5000 here, coming at you with another figure review. Today we'll be having a look at the DC Collectibles DC Essentials Supergirl. Here we do have Supergirl in the packaging. Really been looking forward to this figure. What we're going to do now is take a little break, get her opened up, and then we'll have a better look at Supergirl. So stay tuned, everyone. And so here we have Supergirl posing out of the packaging. Now, unfortunately, being part of the Essentials line, she does have the same issue where she does not get any accessories. No alternate hands, no heat beam effects, no nothing, which is a little bit disappointing seeing as how they have released Supergirls with less articulation but more accessories. So there is that. So without any accessories, let's actually just move on to her details really quickly. And so here we have a closer look at Supergirl. Now, out of the four figures that we're going to be having a look at, I honestly feel that Supergirl here is quite possibly the weakest of the four. Now, the reason for that is, well, this head sculpt is kind of lackluster. We just had a look at Wonder Woman and Cheetah, who had beautiful paint apps, and then we have Supergirl here who's, I don't know, there's something off about the face. I don't know if it's too thin, if it's a lack of expression on it. Maybe it's because the eyes seem like one of them is higher than the other. I don't know. I can't get behind this face. The prototype actually looked better than the final figure. Now, from this angle, it looks okay. From this side, I honestly do believe that eye is painted a little too high. Maybe it's because her face is a little too pointy. The nose just doesn't seem right. There's just something about this face that I can't get behind. Honestly, they could have done a much better job on Supergirl's head, and we have seen them do it in the past. Such unfortunate because the rest of this figure is really well done. The hair, unfortunately, is just done in one color. There's no separate wash in it. There is some detailing in it, but because there's no wash effect, you can see when I cast a shadow, all those beautiful details are brought out. When I move my hand, it's really flat, so the detailing is there. Unfortunately, there's no paint to bring that out. So, I don't know, I think it's part of the fact that her hair is really flat, because maybe it's just under my harsh lights, because covering some of the shadows, it does look a little bit better. But moving on to her costume, we do have a really well-painted S on her chest right here. Now, unfortunately, it is just paint. It's not really sculpted or raised. So that is a little bit of a little letdown that, again, they just painted her S shield on. They didn't even sculpt it on. Looking at her cape, it's done really well. I love this cape. This is probably one of the best things about this figure is how flexible this cape is. It's really nice. It's flexible. It's not going to get in the way. I even do like the fact that it's blowing off to one side. I know a lot of people probably don't like that, but me personally, I think this is a really nice little detail. You can see she is wearing a really nice shade of blue here. It's not the brightest blue that we've ever seen, but it's not something like midnight blue, so I am perfectly okay with it. And unfortunately, she doesn't get any unique sculpt on the hands. Her little cuffs right here, they're just painted. Really, really disappointed that those aren't sculpted on. I would have liked to see the cuffs on her hands at least sculpted, because that is part of her costume. Speaking about her costume, it is utilizing the majority of the Harley Quinn torso that we've seen in the past. And I believe Cheetah also did use the majority of this costume. I really do like the skirt. The skirt is a separate appliance that I would like to know how they actually got it on, because it doesn't seem like there's a seam line anywhere on the skirt, and it seems like it's a separate appliance. So again, I'd like to know how they did this skirt, because it's actually applied really well. Maybe it slid on top before they applied the torso. Who knows? It's really nice, and it has a lot of nice little details sculpted throughout it. Moving on to her boots, which I think is probably the biggest offender of this. She has painted boots. Now, that wouldn't be a problem, except they have sculpted her boots in the past, and other characters get sculpted boots. Supergirl here gets painted boots, and that is really unfortunate. Harley Quinn got unique boots, Wonder Woman got unique boots, Cheetah got unique feet, and of course Marionette got the, well, her entire torso is sculpted uniquely, but Supergirl here is just lacking a lot of things. Now, the reds do a really good job of matching, so I do like that. And they didn't give her a big heel, so she can actually stand fairly well. Plus, she has the traditional hinge ankles instead of that ball that we've been getting on a lot of figures. So, standing her, no problem. But with that out of the way, guys, let's actually take a look at how Supergirl compares to other figures you may have in your collection. Here we have Supergirl posed next to a DC Multiverse Superman and a Marvel Legends Cyclops. Here we have Supergirl posed next to a WWE Elite Scale figure and a Mezco 1/12 Collective Popeye the Sailor Man. And so here we have the DC Essentials Supergirl posed next to the DC Collectibles CW Supergirl and the DC Collectibles Icon Supergirl. And finally, here we have the DC Essentials Supergirl posed next to the DC Essentials Superman. So with the comparisons out of the way, let's actually move on to her articulation. Supergirl here does have a ball joint in the head. We do get a little bit up and down movement, really limited side to side movement, so it's really nothing to shake a stick at. She does, of course, rotate at the neck pretty well. Has a hinge in the neck, which looks down pretty good. She would look up a little bit better, but her hair does hinder the upwards articulation, so we really don't get any decent flying poses with this Supergirl. Arms are on a ball hinge, they go all the way around. The cape does kind of get in the way, but you don't need her going all the way back like that, so all the way up is perfectly fine. Her arms do go out only to about there because the cape does kind of keep her arms down. A little bit unfortunate, but not a big deal. Swivel at the bicep. We have a double bend in the elbow, which goes all the way up, which looks pretty good. She does have a swivel and a hinge in the wrist. She has a ball joint in the torso, which can lean side to side really well. We do get rotation, some backwards and forwards movement. I do feel like we've seen a little bit better with Marionette and maybe Batgirl, but it's pretty good overall. And again, we do get the swivel right up there. No swivel at the waist, but her legs do kick forward about that far. They kick back, go all the way out, even though she does have a skirt on. She swivels at the thigh. Has a double joint in the knee, which works pretty good. Swivel at the calf for some reason. Then we get a hinge joint, which goes forward and back all the way. And then we do get a swivel. It's not a forward-facing pin. It's kind of angled that way, so we just get kind of a rotation. But overall, really good articulation here on Supergirl. So what we're going to do now is take a little break, get her posed for my final thoughts, and then we'll wrap up this review. And so here we have Supergirl posed for my final thoughts. Overall, I really do like the way this figure came out, although I do feel like there are better Supergirl figures out there. I feel like the Essential Supergirl is a little bit too tall alongside some of the other figures like Wonder Woman and Superman. I feel like she should be just a little bit shorter. Now, out of all the figures I've had a look at so far, I still say she is one of the weakest figures. A lack of accessories really does hurt this figure. If she had come with alternate hands, just so we can give her some different flight and pose options, I think she would be a much nicer figure. Now, I do feel like the face sculpt is somewhat wrong on this figure. It might just be my figure, or yours could also be the same, but the head sculpt on this figure, as well as the paint apps, just don't seem to scream Supergirl in my opinion. I still do recommend this figure if you're a fan of the character or just like or need a Supergirl in your collection. If you are looking for the Essential Supergirl, she is starting to hit retails right now, so check your local comic book stores or online retail for this figure. I was lucky enough to pick up my Supergirl from Asylum Comics, so a huge shout out to the folks of Asylum Comics for getting this out to me so I could review it for you guys. If you are picking up the Essentials line, they are going to run anywhere from $25 to $28, which is pretty pricey seeing as how these figures don't come with any accessories. This is mainly for hardcore collectors like myself or people who just want to have essential characters in their collection. If you don't really need this figure, I do say you can pass on this figure because there are much better options out there. With that being said, guys, I'm KingofDragons 5000. Don't forget to like this video, leave a comment, subscribe to my channel. Go check out all my other action figure reviews as well as all my other DC reviews. Hopefully you find them informative. As always, if there's a figure you would like to see me review, let me know down in the comments, and if it fits in my collection, I'll definitely have a look at it. And while you're at it, check out my Instagram account for new and exciting action figure photos, and ring that bell to be notified every time I upload a video. Until next time, guys, I'll see you later. Take care, everyone.